Welcome back, everyone, to Business and Life Stories with James and Mike. Joining us this week is Amanda Hodges, who is a tech consultant with really superb people and connecting skills. And most of us techies know that's not a very common combination. We're really happy to have Amanda here to talk to us about her career trajectory, some of the cool things she's done, and what she's got coming up next. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Welcome,
you hosting me on your podcast today.
So you've had more success than many people your age that we've seen. What are some of the things that you think have made you successful in your career?
I would say some of the things that have really made me stand out in my career is really going the extra mile for people. I really see the relationships that I make within sales and within the industry as long-term relationships, not just short-term transactions. I've really understood that you can ask somebody what their family's like, how are their kids doing, what's their favorite sports team, really getting to know them for them and seeing them as people and not just a deal that you want to close. So also just adding value and resources to the clients that we service at T-Minus Solutions in my current career path has really made me stand out and be successful. Remembering people's names, following up. If you say you're going to follow up at Tuesday at 1 p.m. and you do, most people are surprised because a lot of times people can fall through the cracks nowadays. But if you have an effective customer relationship management software that helps you to keep on track and just to really remember. So I'd say it's been really important to pay attention to the details and people know if you care. So I would say those are some of the things that have made me successful.
And does paying attention to building these relationships then, I mean, obviously that would help you figure out when you're doing the tech consulting what people might need or benefit from, or even things they don't know about yet. Mm-hmm. So that would make sense. But are there other things that you've been able to bring to people outside your normal job, or maybe referrals or other connections?
Yeah, a lot of what I do at T-Minus Solutions, because we particularly focus on small to mid-sized businesses, and in the startup world, they need a lot of resources or funding or, investors, or they need strategy and advice on their pitch deck. And so a lot of the value has been taking the time to do those extra things that aren't required, but it's something that we have a heart for at T-Minus. And so paying attention to those details. And for example, working with a client that has a school and knew somebody that was giving away school supplies. So going the extra mile to get those supplies and get them to them has been something that people will remember that because it's not required of you, but you go out of the way for it. And so I would say those are some of the things that you can add value to those companies.
Now, how did you get going on this career path? Did you just wake up in middle school one day and say you wanted to be a tech and sales person and support tech companies, or did you have a different dream? How did you get here?
Yeah. So really my sales background comes from my childhood. We had a family business that my dad started when he was 22 years old. And so really watching him and his career path and to see him be successful. He was always out and about. We'd be at a restaurant. He'd give pins with his business, name and number to the servers, and they would get calls. And so he was very people oriented. And so seeing that growing up and seeing him be able to retire in his 40s struck a passion into me to want to do the same. And so I'd say, in my career, in my 20s, I told myself I want to explore a couple different paths and then bring together those skills to a long-term career path. And so in my previous experience, I've also been a high school teacher. And so learning how to educate, how to create that desire in others to learn has been something that has transitioned over into my current career path. I've also been an entrepreneur before and built a business from the ground up. So I saw the pros and cons of that and really enjoyed it. and that was in Florida. And then I came to Houston, and I've been in a management role in the corporate world. So in the corporate world, as a manager, one of the things that I can say that I learned is that everything rises and falls on leadership. If you're a good leader, your people are going to want to follow you. And you're not going to have to ask that person to do that thing. They're going to want to do it out of a desire to make things keep rolling smoothly. And so in this career path, I plan to stay in it a long time. And I'm glad that I didn't just stick to one thing, but I was able to expand my skills and then bring it in something that I believe every day I'm challenged. And that's kind of always been my personality. I don't, my purpose is, people and loving people. And that's what I get the most joy out of. So I do believe that those skills carried over very well.
So what do you do to help build connections? Are you going to a lot of in-person meetups, or you're reaching out on LinkedIn? What are some Amanda Hodges secrets to connecting?
Yeah, so every week I go to 2 to 3 networking events, and just as a resource for people, I'm sure Eventbrite, and if you sign up for email newsletters, you get a lot of events sent your way. And so just taking a look at those a couple of weeks beforehand and getting them put on my calendar. And then at these networking events, I always stay curious. I want to talk to the right people. No conversation to me is meaningless. No person too small or too large. I've met the startup founder, but I've also met high-level executives with all different aspects and backgrounds to their lives. And so really with networking, it has been one thing I would recommend is creating a binder and keeping those business cards that you receive. And within 1 to 3 days, following up on those and keeping that toolbook handy so that they can become referral partners. So you're not just helping yourself, you're helping others, and you're helping also somebody that you're referring their business to. And when you know and trust those people and get to know them, go out for coffee, go for lunch. Then you can use them as resources and be confident in what you're giving to that small to mid-sized, large-sized business. So those strategies, and then as far as digital strategies, I'd say really being personal and not just using a template on an email, but reaching out with their name, asking how they're doing, and creating that. And I've gotten a lot of feedback that way. It takes more time and more effort, but I would say it was worthwhile.
What are some things that? Oh, James has a question. Go ahead, James.
No. I was just going to say that I also work in sales as well, and obviously the human connection is really important. And you've mentioned this several times, as in really building your career, both in sales and your earlier entrepreneurial career. Has that been the most rewarding part, the human aspect of your career path and where you are presently, or has there even been something beyond that, or has that really been the basis of all the most rewarding parts?
Yeah, I would say it's been the basis of the most rewarding parts. Whether you're introverted or extroverted, I really believe that creating that human connection is something that we all need. And I think it was even more seen during COVID when you didn't have as much of that connection. Some networking events were closed off, and now we've found more innovative ways to connect to each other. But I would say out of the course of my life, my friends or family would laugh at me, but if I go to Starbucks or the drive-thru or Target and I meet a stranger, I have business cards with me and I want to connect with them because you never know who you might meet. And that person that you meet, if you don't connect with them and have that business card or a way to connect, you're most likely never going to see that person again. So I would say it's something that's always grounded me and given me purpose to wake up to each day and do what's most important.
Yeah, fantastic. So, I mean, is there, I guess, from a networking and building relationships, building connections perspective, are there any kind of 2 or 3 pieces of advice or pointers? I mean, no one likes someone just going up to them and having a having a business card shoved in their face, right? So what have you found really to be like that, like maybe really, really personal ways to be able to combine what you're sort of wanting to achieve to build your network, but in a way where they feel that they are the center of that conversation?
Yes, for sure. I would just give advice as far as a personal note is to send a thank you card after you meet somebody. A lot of times, especially in the digital world, you don't receive something physical in the mail. And so maybe taking the extra time. I've sent letters in the mail before after meeting people. Also, there's a digital photo printer. So a lot of times at events, you can take photos and then print it off right there and give them something to keep.
Nice.
So it's little things like that that can add the extra value to make them feel important and for them to remember you and for you to remember them.
There's this quite well-known marketeer called Joe Polish, and he has done podcasts for years, and I can remember once, and I've forgotten the exact number, but I know that he has a gift account basically, and it's fairly substantial. It's like tens and tens and tens of them, thousands. I mean, this is a guy who can sort of phone up Richard Branson tomorrow and probably like a couple of sort of clicks or a couple of names away from anyone. But he said exactly the same thing. Like whatever he spends in that year in gifts, birthday cards, I think he actually has a full-time person, because if you know, like thousands of them are people, hundreds and hundreds of which are really kind of quite high in the profile. But he said time and time again that whatever he spends, it just comes back to him like twofold, threefold, tenfold. And that doesn't have to be like $1,000 watch or like a $5,000 watch. It could just be a $10 card. But it's the fact that you put pen to paper, a nice pen, some nice ink, a few carefully chosen words can mean so much, can't it?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So I want to dig more into running into people, strangers in various settings, Amanda. What do you do with the person who's just not responding? And I don't mean the hostile person. I mean the person with the body language and the energy. You sense they want to talk, but they're just not saying anything. So how do you break through that silence?
Yeah, a lot of times if they're silent or not talking much, you can find something to make them laugh about or a compliment that you can give them, really bringing a smile to their face. That might be the first gesture of bringing that smile. And sometimes even if it's a long-term thing, a lot of times, I know I spent some time in the UK and I would go to a women's shelter every week. And this lady didn't have any emotion, but week after week, she didn't say much. But just me showing up time and time again, she eventually smiled, started showing emotion, started talking, started trusting. So I would say, just to liven up and find something, move from the secondary to the primary. Find something that you guys have in common, and then you can move on to business things in the future. But at first with a stranger, just finding something that you can talk about.
Because I think it sort of comes. Sorry, I'm sorry, mate. But that just made me realize that it's. I mean, I don't think it's only me, but it's so easy for us to feel that if someone is a little maybe cold or a little kind of with a jaw, that it's due to us. Whereas I think what you mentioned there is we don't know what's going on in their head, in their lives, in their past lives, in their kids, in their like it could be 1,000 things, right? And I think it's so important, as you said, to lighten the occasion and make them the center, as in a compliment. It just shows that you're paying attention, right? And then I don't know what you felt, Amanda, but I always find that if one's able to put my own ego aside and my own wants and need aside, and not have the almost have the confidence to compliment or talk about someone else. That can change the dynamics of the whole conversation, can't it?
Yes, for sure. And I think with a stranger too, you can always listen to understand, not just listen to hear. Majority of people might be the main ones talking, but if you listen to them, that's going to go a long way as well.
Have you noticed any major differences between different age groups to whom you speak?
I have, for sure. I'd say the younger generation, lives in a very much digital world, used to having your phone or your laptop, or so really, I think those are the ones that are more surprised about, the non-technical ways that you try to reach them. And I think with the older generation, just having manners goes a long way with them. And I think just, talking to them as a person and then really seeing that, okay, this is somebody that has a good work ethic. For millennials, we kind of get the stereotype that it's a lot different, but I think that you can be all things to all people if you take the right approach. You definitely have to know your situations and who you're talking to, and then adjust accordingly.
So can you give us an example of some conversations where you've had to shift gears?
Yeah, for sure. I could say I've gone to a networking event where primarily it was insurance-based people, which I've learned, when, like I said, I never deny a conversation. They may be in the insurance world, but I kind of adjust it to know what their industry is. So that's why I don't limit myself to just learning about what my industry is. It's really important to learn, just be an everyday learner, because you may be at a networking event where you didn't know 80% of the people are going to be in the insurance world, and that's not really the people that you're looking to connect to, but you see it as an opportunity. And it's been those times that have been the most surprising, because if you know something and you surprise them with something that you know about them, they can tell that you're interested. And so really shifting that conversation to not something that is 100% my field, but something that they're an expert in, has been something that has been worth it for me. So I'm thankful for Alexa, asking questions every morning, trying to learn, YouTube, all the resources that are out there to really know and understand. And so I would say those conversations have been the ones that I've had to shift and kind of not just your normal questions that you would naturally just ask.
And what tips would you have for, let's say, one of our listeners meets you here in Austin at a meetup or at a Houston meetup? How should a person approach you, or how should a person approach a female your age?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, in the consulting world, working with small to mid-sized to large-sized businesses, I think, a lot of times ways that you can first connect is, through LinkedIn when you're at a networking event, but taking that time to, you might live in a different city, but you could, plan a trip there, or grab coffee or lunch, creating that time where you have like one-on-one. And then of course, thankfully that we have Teams and Zoom and all the different resources that we have nowadays, that you can take the time outside of a networking event to be approached. And so, like I said, you never know who you're going to meet. So it's important to take each conversation. And a lot of times it's been at the end of conversations that I've realized, okay, this is somebody in the technology world. Technology is ever changing. And so pretty much with any business, a lot of people have to see the value of staying up to date with technical needs, getting your name out there, your content marketing strategy. And with those needs ever changing, the ROI on staying up to date on that and ahead of the game it's not something every business owner, entrepreneur thinks about, but just to get them thinking about it definitely goes a long way as well.
Why do you think some people don't see the potential return on investment of keeping their tech up to date and keeping their visibility up to date? What is the mental block that would prevent them from realizing this is necessary?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I run into and see is a lot of times people are stuck in their ways. They've used the same software for 15, 20 years, and, they're in a comfort zone. Their kind of fear lets them, hold back from being innovative with technology. So it would mean retraining all their employees to use the new systems. Well, what they don't always realize is the headaches that it causes employees, and it down trickles to, higher retention, losing employees because employees aren't able to manage efficiently, where if they stayed up to date with technology, they could have the technology do the jobs of people where people could do their jobs more effectively. So a lot of times I see companies sometimes just looking at the bottom line, but not seeing the business aspect of if they did innovate, how you could quadruple their business size and value just by staying up to date. And so those are the main stumbles that I run into, is just their business is going well, but how could it go better? They have to ask themselves.
I know James has more questions. He's giving me the look. Go ahead, James.
No, I think that's just. I always like exploring the concept of fear and vulnerability, and but I think you've hit on a big point there about certainly tech. Mike, of course, and probably yourself too, could make a computer or a phone from what you find in the trash can. But for me, I can definitely relate to. It's like, if it's working, it's good. If it doesn't work, then my stress levels just go through the ceiling because I don't understand it at all. And I don't really like moving on. It's like I've got my 3 or 4 comms platforms and a CRM and I'm comfortable. But it is, you're absolutely right. I mean, how important is it to actually, for CEOs or the C-suite, to see the bigger picture? There's a bit of a hurdle in front. It's like, oh, I don't want the effort. I don't want the immediate expense. I don't want the fear of it causing headaches, which in so many of our lives, the fear is usually magnified far beyond what the actual reality is, right? Because I'd imagine that there'd be plenty of onboarding training. So I guess the final question for me is, what sort of conversations would you have with people, maybe such as myself, who are a little bit kind of in their comfort zone, but held in their comfort zone by fear, which is a bit of a strange thing to say. But obviously that's a sales conversation, right? So are you selling them on the bigger vision, or how do you get over the initial hurdles so they can see their bigger picture?
Yeah, for sure. So some of the conversations I have, we're always better with people. So, one person can't know everything. So bringing somebody else into the picture and kind of getting different insights helps the business owner and the founder. You can start asking questions that really get them to think, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Do you have an exit strategy in 10 years? Well, what's the plan to get there? And so really kind of doing a complimentary audit of their business to see where they're at helps to get them to think. And then we do a workshop and a whiteboard session where we would show them a roadmap of what it would look like. And I'm there along the way to kind of give them that encouragement as they're stepping into fear and the risk that they're taking. But there's so many companies that hold technical debt. There can be technical debt that's good debt. But sometimes people choose technology partners that they end up $500,000 down the road and they have a little product built. So it's really important when choosing a technology partner to choose one that you can scale and grow with. Sometimes people start thinking small. They're not looking at the bigger picture. But from the very beginning, you have to look down the road of where you want it to go. because if not, you could run into hurdles and obstacles that would prevent you from growing. And so really, I just want to be that person in the conversation that can help make a difference in their life and in their family's life. I see a lot of business owners that are stressed, not knowing, what's going on with their employees and not staying connected. But if they can see it from their phone, from an app, from the web, that makes their life so much easier, and they can use the extra time they have with their family or other important matters. Because as people say, time is money, and you have to learn to manage your time more effectively and manage it well.
Brilliant.
So you have built a career at a very early age doing things for which there's no college degree, there's no training in high school how to do what you've done. What advice would you give to people that want to follow your career path and kind of forge their own thing?
Yeah, I would say most importantly, in your career path, I would encourage you, we get this one life to live, and life is a beautiful gift. Choose something you're passionate about. And I've mentioned before, choose something that you enjoy waking up and doing every day. Don't just go through the rut of a 9 to 5 and look back on your life and have regrets. Choose something that's going to give you the freedom that you want, that's going to help you accomplish the goals. I would say, really encourage you to write down goals and accomplish them. Whether you do 90-day goals, 6 months goals, 5 years goals, have them for yourself, and it gives you something to work towards. So the other advice that I would encourage you is in the consulting world, as we've talked about, be that go-to person, and really care about people. Follow what you believe your calling is, and don't waste time doing something that you don't truly believe in. I know in my role, I am passionate about it because of what I get to do and the community impacting projects. Pick good projects with good people. I know we get to serve clients in Houston, Austin, Dallas, nationwide, and globally. So that's something that I look forward to. Don't just limit it to, your neighbors outside, but see the big picture and how you can impact the world.
That is really great thoughts. Good advice, particularly for people that are trying to start a second career or building your first one. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yes, I would say you can connect with me on LinkedIn through the link provided on the podcast website, or you can email me at amanda@t-solutions.com, or you can give me a call at 281-928-2332, and I'd love to connect with you.
All right. Thank you very much for being here, Amanda. Do you have any final words for the audience?
I thank you for listening. I appreciate you, and just to stay true to my word, I hope that we get to connect and maybe get to meet in person one day.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.